Okay, class, today we're going to have a short video on how to punctuate titles properly. I'm going to go through a couple steps. The first one's being how to capitalize titles, and then the second one being how to actually, if they go in quote marks or if they are italicized or underlined. The last slide will be something that you'll write down as an activity that we will go over in class tomorrow. So to begin with, we're going to talk about capitalization. When you capitalize the word of a title, it is important that you focus on three certain rules. The first rule is it's always the beginning letter of the first word and the last word, no matter what the word is. The first word and the last word should always be capitalized. And for part number 3, it's all important words in the title. Now this will make more sense when I talk about the idea of the non-important words. So the non-important words are usually the small words that don't really stick out and don't really add meaning to the story itself. So these are ones that don't get capitalized. Any preposition, not just short ones, but any prepositions. This is just a list of the short ones. To here is a preposition when it's used in the idea of to the store. So not necessarily when it goes with a verb, but when it goes with the prepositional aspect. Coordinating conjunctions, this is fanboys. And then articles, a, an, and the. Now the exception here, remembering, is sometimes a, an, and the come as the first word in a title. And if they are the first word in a title, then they will be capitalized. But other than that, if they are within the other words of the title, they are not capitalized. Looking at some of these samples here, pull out my pen. Now, here we have this idea of, I want you to write these down, so pause your video, write these down, and then restart, and in a moment I'm going to go over these. Now, when you're doing these, the idea of capitalization is write them with the proper capitalization, and I'm going to show you which ones get capitalized. Okay, hopefully you're done by now. So in Songs of the Lonesome Cowboy, the S, the L, and the C should be capitalized. Now, of and the being an article and of being a short preposition, are not capitalized. The next one, The Godfather. The is normally not capitalized, but because it's the first word, it's capitalized. And then the G in Godfather. To Kill a Mockingbird. The to is capitalized because it is the first word. The kill is capitalized, and so is the mockingbird, leaving the A out because the A is an article. Okay, now with reference to the idea of how the quotes get noted in the sentence themselves, or anywhere that you're using it. Now we have this idea of italics and quotation marks, and this seems to be confusing students. So think of it as the whole piece versus the piece of the whole, or you have a pie and you got the whole pie, and then the quotations are what is a piece of the pie. So the whole piece is the larger works. So if we're looking at this, if they are typed, you are italicizing. If you are handwriting, you are underlining. They are the same thing, italics and underlining, just a matter of typing, handwriting. Novels or books, movies, TV and radio programs, periodicals and newspapers. Periodicals means magazines and newspapers. So like LA Times, this would be like Time Magazine, Life Magazine. Long musical compositions, so this would be like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, because of how long it is. It is a long piece. Musical albums and CDs. So this is not the individual songs. This is the idea of what the musician calls their entire album. A cartoon series. So if you're talking Futurama, Archer, Fairly Godparents, the whole series is capitalized. Artwork. So we're talking like the Mona Lisa and Scream. And then plays, so like A Streetcar Named Desire, Death of a Salesman. These are all longer pieces, okay? Those are all italics and underlined. Now when we get to the piece, this is what goes in quotation marks. So noticing the idea that they are smaller aspects of the larger. So if we have short poems and short plays, the idea of the plays here. Now some books are long poems. So that's why it's specifically listed as short poems. So if it's a novel or an epic poem that is the length of a novel, it is underlined. Okay, so like the Odyssey and the Iliad are epic book-length poems, so they get underlined or italicized. Whereas short poems, like The Lamb and the Tiger that some of you have had to memorize so far, would get put in quotation marks. Short plays are one-act plays, or usually a couple page plays that go in quotation marks. Single TV episodes. So noticing over here we have the TV and radio program. Here we have the individual episodes. So if we have one show, we have Friends, and then we have over here, we have what is the name of the episode of Friends. So it wouldn't be like episode season 3, episode 1. It would be the idea of what they actually call that episode would go in quotation marks. So in the Friends TV show, italicized, an episode called quotation marks. Articles in periodicals and newspapers. So this is the idea of the shorter piece that appears in the larger piece. Okay, so these are the articles that you're reading for the current events. Then you have the short stories and essays. You have, these are shorter pieces. These are what we're basically reading in class right now. These are The Death of a Moth. This is the Declaration of Independence, would fit in here as well. And then the next one, we have chapters, parts, and selections in books. So again, we return to this idea of the book and the chapter in the book. So if the book title is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but chapter 1 is called something in particular, and you're referring specifically to chapter 1, and you give the chapter title, then you would put it in quotation marks. So the whole is the longer piece, bigger piece, it's the pie. The quotation is the piece of the pie. Okay? Now I want you to write down these samples in your notes, and we're going to go over them in class tomorrow up on the smartboard and give some experience points with it. There are 7 here. So I want you to rewrite these with the proper capitalization and with the proper punctuation. Since you are handwriting them, they would be underlined. If you are, and either way, quotation marks if you're handwriting or if you're typing. I would prefer if you handwrite these in your notes unless you type notes. Okay, and we will go over this in class tomorrow. Have a good day and enjoy your evening.